Welcome you lot. I just want to talk today about what I do in terms of when I rock up at a venue. I've either never fished it before, or even if I have, I'm on a peg that I've never fished before, and how I go about just mapping the kind of contours of the bottom. And it's a really straightforward process. It confuses a lot of people. It doesn't need to whatsoever. So I'm going to talk you through it step by step, and hopefully it'll help you when you're on somewhere that's new. First thing, what I do is I've got a full length top kit. Use one of our TKS top kits here, and it's got depth markers on it. So what I do is I've got my rig. Now for me, whenever I've got a new session, I don't actually shot my floats. I've just got literally the float to line with the hook length on, and then obviously I shot it as per what I want to do in a day. So at the moment it's just the float, there's no shot on the line whatsoever. Okay, and what I do is I set the float at 5 foot. So on this, I'm on a snake lake today at Alder Fisheries, and I'm expecting it to be certainly no deeper, I don't think, than 5 foot. If it is, obviously I can tell that it's deeper than 5 foot because that's where the float is set at the moment. So I set it at 5 foot, nice and straightforward. All I need to do then is just pop a plummet on. Now plummet wise, I want something with quite a flat base. These are the Guru ones, and it's a 30 gram, so it keeps everything nice and straight. It's got a nice big surface area on the base, so it stops it from sinking in silt or clay and stuff like that, and it gives me a pretty accurate reading. So all I need to do is pop that on. So we'll whiz that on now like that. Okay, so that's it, dead straightforward. Plummet on a hook, 5 foot away is the float, nice and easy. That's step one. So the first thing I'm going to do is just on the top kit itself. I'm literally going to drop it in, just a top kit out in front of me, and I can see that's actually going down quite quick. That's it, probably 4.5 foot where that is there, right in front of me. I can feel it is quite stony actually, which is quite good. So I'm just going to bring it back in even closer. So this is where my keep nets will be going in a match, and you can see where it slopes off there. So that's about 3 foot there, and then as I go further down, you can see it's starting to slope away nice and gently, which is great. And get down to the end of my top kit in front of me, and yeah, we're at 4. It's just over 4.5 foot there now. As you can see, it's just a float length out of the water. Okay, they're straightforward. And then I'm going to do the same down the sides. So it should be nice and shallow here, yeah. So I know straight away that for my edges I've got a little bit of water to fish in, because obviously I'm looking for some nice shallow water for the fish to come in. And again, I'm just using the top kit, so I can see that slope going down. I'm expecting it to be level, which it is. I can see that it's just going there. There's a bit of a hole there, slides down. Yeah, now interestingly, look there. So on my top kit there, that is at 5 foot. Straight just out to my right there. So look at where my marker is in the far bank, I can see where that is. But if I come straight in front of me, it's a little bit shallower. So it's obviously where it's been dug out by feeding fish. That is it same on the other side? No, it goes a bit shallower that way. So straight away I can see that I've got that slope in front of me. It's a bit more shallower to my left, and on my right hand side it's a little bit deeper. Okay, and that's just on a top kit. So that's the first thing. You feel around with what's in front of you, so you know what you're doing straight away there. Okay, so once I've had a bit of a plumb round in front of me, and I know from what I've done here that the edges are really shallow, so I'll do about the edges separately in a bit. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to just work my way out, kind of a section at a time really. So we started on the top kit there. Okay, we know that we're just a float length out of the water, and another 2 foot out, and we're at 5 foot there now. That's a very slight slope, just to that point there. Okay, and the same again really. I have a little look to my right, a little bit shallower, same as it is before. Okay, and it does slope away there. It's exactly the same now. So a top kit +1, it's exactly the same depth in front of me, and at sort of 10 o'clock and at 2 o'clock in terms of my positions in the peg. So the same again now. I'm going to go out another length. Okay, and actually it's ever so slightly shallower, but it's basically the same. It's pretty much flat. So top kit +1 seems to be flatten off from that point. Okay, and we go out a little bit more. Exactly the same again. So we know we've got 5 foot of water in front of us. So now I'm going to start to expect to see it to try and start shallowing up again. Yeah, there you go, look. So another section out. So we're now at top 6. And it's come back up again, the float length above the water. So I can see that it's starting to shelve up just at those top 6. Okay, same again that side. Have a quick look. What you can also do with this as well is as you're moving the plummet around the peg, sometimes you can bump into fish. So it's you can kind of work out if any of them are shoaled up in front of you. So same again there. Let's add some more sections on. So it should start another section out onto the top 7. And it is slightly shallower. Not a lot of difference, but ever so slightly shallower at that point there. But that's still like 4 foot, top 7. So there's a fair bit of water there. And we get out now to 13 metres. And it's shallower like really quickly. So there's obviously like a deep drop off there. So we've just got to find out where that is. So I'm going to come back half a section. That's still shallow there. So we're nearly back to the top 7 now here. And it does drop off there, yeah, I can feel it. So it's quite a steep slope actually. Yeah, quite a steep slope. Okay, and then obviously push right into that mud line. And it is like super shallow. We'll have a look at that separately again in a minute. Okay, just a quick check on that. So I'm coming back down to that top 7 again. Let's just take that off. There's Mel going past on his truck. So I'll take that down to that top 7. I just want to check to my left and right. So yeah, we've got 4 foot. A bit deeper again to the right as it is down here. So that gives us, quite a good indication. So what that shows me is, like I said, I've now got a clear picture of what happens in front of me and the different depths in which I might catch fish at throughout the day. What I'm going to look for now is the edges and see what kind of depth I've got down the edges in terms of properly there. And the same with the mud line across, where it's really shallow. I've got a nice bank that goes across there. I'll have a little plumb up along that, give myself a few different options. And obviously the mud line itself, that you might be really shallow in that particular bit of water there if the fish go in there later in the day. So I don't need to talk about the rig itself really, I can do that in a later thing, but initially I'll set it at 2 foot, okay, 24 inches. Ideally I want it to be less than that, but we're going to have a little look round. Exactly the same process as before. Now this rig is already shotted, but nonetheless it's exactly the same process. So I'm first going to have a look right down my edge here, and I can see that slopes away. In this little gap though, I've got a slope that is almost 2 foot. And then it comes up to 18 inches. So there is a possibility there, but it's not really what I'm looking for. So first and foremost, I'm going to have a little look. I think we're about there. Have a look down to my left on this first little line that we've got here. So again, it's still set at 2 foot. We've got nearly 2 foot. That's quite nice, look. So we've just got a little gentle slope away there. But I've got a little shelf. I'm expecting to see it drop off. There you go. Okay, but that's actually just nice there, look. I'm just an inch over depth, which is just where I expect it to be, so that sits nicely, and it means I can move my pole completely out of the way. So that gives me a perfect line there. That's just what I'm looking for. And let's put another section on, see if I can say the same thing on the right. That wind's starting to get up a little bit. I've got almost exactly the same. It's very close to. It's about ½ an inch difference. It's very, very minimal, which is good. And then the next thing I want to do, I'm going to look on one of the platforms. So I'm going to have a look on the peg next door. I'm just going to have a look at the moment on the one to my left. So mind the cameras. I'm going to bring that rig round. I'm just looking on the corner. It's a bit deeper. But only quite a couple of inches. So if I want something that's a little bit deeper than 2 foot, that's probably like 2 1/4, I can use that edge there. Which is a bit further away from me if I need it. Okay, so we've got a good clear picture of everywhere now. It's just a mud line, so let's have a little look over there. Got the rig set. It's again exactly the same as down the edge essentially. It's because it's no different. It's just obviously on the far side. So I've got it exactly the same. This one now I've started at 18 inches because I suspect it's really quite shallow over there from when we looked at the start. So I'll get everything together. You see, pole rollers are positioned lovely. So that's not going to cause an issue. And I'm going to go straight into that mud line to start with. So there you go, right up against about 18 inches there. That's just quite nice. 18. Shallows up a little bit there. Oh, so we just bumped a fish, so they're obviously happy about going into that depth. But just squeeze up that touch more on the grass. Yeah, it's a bit shallower. And it just slopes away from us. It gets deeper as we come across them. There's fish in there. We've bumped a few fish, so that's a really promising sign. And that is beautiful, so we want about 18 inches. So what I'm going to do then is just have a little check down this other bank. Be careful of the things that are overhanging. There's a little hole just in there I can push in. It is deeper, but only by a little bit. And careful of those bits coming through. You want to avoid all them. Yeah. Okay, good. So that tells me what I need to know. So there we go, really, really straightforward. Obviously, from that point then, you can decide to pick certain depths. So this time of year, I try to have 2 foot or less, which we've got down the margins and we've got on the far bank, which that covers that depth. I'd be looking for something that is kind of 3 foot, 3.5, and we know that on the shells, top 7 sections, it starts to move up 3.5 to nearly 4 foot there. So I've got lines that are just on that slope 3/4 of the way across on those 7 sections. So again, I'd have the rig that I'm using for that. I'd get over there and just make sure I've got the depth properly and just where you want to be. And then obviously I've got in front of me down this deep track as well. I can either go the far side of that channel before it starts to slope up, or I could come the near side of it. And in some cases you want to go right in the middle of it, and that's fine. If you're being quite selective for carp, there's nothing to stop you from fishing away from yourself a little bit, usually at an angle right down in that deepest part of the lake that you've got. So you've covered there. We know that we can cover 5 foot, almost 4 foot, and 2 foot or less. So again, it just helps you to work out what depth the fish want to feed in. Generally speaking, they'll start in a deeper water, and as it warms up and the water temperature warms up throughout the day, they'll move into shallower water, and you've got rigs set up accordingly and maximise the chance of you catching some fish, which is absolutely fantastic. So there we go. Hope that's been really helpful for you. As usual, please remember to like and subscribe, because it really helps us out, and hit the notification button as well so you can see when we send out more videos. Thank you so much. I'll see you on the bank very, very soon.